You all thought I was joking about my niche being printers now, huh? Well, nope, I'm a printing channel now. I'm changing my name to, Printexplode. Yeah, that's it. I'm Printexplode now. But, you saw the title of this video. It's about offset printing. This form of printing was invented in England 1875 by this guy named Robert Barclay. Ever since, it's been used pretty heavily for printing mass quantities of books, magazines, advertisements, my autobiography, and more of that sort of stuff. While offset printing has lost a bit of its presence due to more accessible forms of printing taking some of its place, offset printing isn't going anywhere anytime soon. As I subtly suggested in my letterpress printing video, offset printing is better than all of us in any way imaginable. I don't think any of you have 4 rulers and can print 50,000 Among Us ads a minute. If you can, raise your hand. You guys are liars, put them down. How offset printing works is that there's 4 different sets of rollers called plate cylinders that add in one of the colors found in CMYK, the most used inking method in printing. The design you want is etched into the top roller to help get a sharper image and is then fed through the bottom roller covering the piece in a layer of ink, which is then fed through another set of rollers and then another set of rollers until the entire thing's complete. As you can probably guess, this method can go super fast. It's really cool watching these machines go too. It's really cool seeing the prints sort of morph into their finalized design. Right now, the biggest competitor to offset printing is digital printing. Digital printing, while cool in its own right, is something I'm sure all of you are at least partially familiar with. It's pretty much the form of printing that your printer uses at home. The growing accessibility of these printers, aka walking up to your local Best Buy and walking out with their cheapest printer, which means that smaller businesses can just print their own things instead of relying on big printing companies to print their shit. Plus, for things that need a bit more power than a regular ass printer, printing businesses out there can use bigger digital printers instead of relying on offset printing. Despite this, offset printing isn't going to the farm up north anytime soon like letterpress printing. Not that letterpress printing did that either, but it's obviously fell off a little bit since the 1800s. The thing about offset printing is that it makes a lot of prints real fast for real cheap, aka a big corporation's wet dream. The down and simple version of it is that the larger the print order is, the more it makes sense to just use offset printing. A majority of the costs from offset printing comes from the initial setup of the prints, meaning that once you set up the rolls and dies that you need, you don't really need to worry about the cost of ink. Compare this to something like digital printing, where ink shortages and printing problems are more common, on top of the printer just printing one page at a time instead of multiple sheets at a time. Believe me, I should know. I used offset printing to print 500,000 copies of my autobiography, and I have saved a fortune. Still no buyers though. Something I would like to mention before we're done here is that everything I've said, like my video on letterpress printing, is just a brief overview of offset printing, particularly when it comes to how these printers work. Like, while the 4 printers printing a separate layer of ink onto a design is basically how offset printing works, watch any video of a printer doing its job and you'll see there are a shit ton more moving parts than you'd expect for a thing that prints off library Garfield posters. But with all that said, I just have one question for everyone in the audience. I'm in serious debt. Can anyone please buy my autobiography?